Hello again, and welcome to the Daily Bread Bible Study. It's good to have you back as we are journeying together through this strange Levitical code in Leviticus. But today is day 31 for Friday, January 31st, 2020, focusing on Leviticus chapters 11 through 13. So let's look at some more of the rules and regulations around what is acceptable there on the book of the law, the book of Leviticus. So just a reminder that the reason for all of this we get in Leviticus 11:45. It's that God wants us to be holy, to be set apart, be different, be uncommon. Any of those words can kind of be used here, but the word is holy. For I am the Lord who brought you up from the land of Egypt, to be your God. You shall be holy, for I am holy. The people's holiness is a reflection of God, and as a reflection of God, we are going to have a list of things that we should do and shouldn't do, including a list of animals that are clean and unclean. So in Leviticus 11:3, it says, "Any animal that has divided hooves and is cleft-footed and chews the cud, such you may eat." And so what animals are clean are, just going over this list kind of in a brief here in chapter 11, the ones with split hooves, cleft-footed, and chews the cud. So those are the qualities that we are looking for. If you're an aquatic animal, it has to have fins and scales. So it says explicitly some animals that it wants them to know that they are familiar with, but they cannot eat. It says no to eating camels, no to eating the rock badgers, no to eating rabbit, no to eating pig. They are all ritually unclean to you. There's no to many birds of prey and vultures, no to owls, no to cranes, no to bats. There's no to many insects, but locusts, grasshoppers, and crickets are okay because they're off the ground. No to many reptiles like lizards, and including snakes that go on their belly. So uncleanliness can spread also. We learn from carcasses. So whatever a carcass of a dead insect touches, it can make things unclean. You purify cloth with water, which water then is able to cleanse some of the impurity of the cloth. We see that water becomes undrinkable if a carcass touches it of an insect, and they really are afraid about stones or bricks to be able to take in any of this uncleanliness. So they advise them to break ovens, to break earthen vessels, and then I'm not quite sure what the logic is behind seeds, but they say that in verse 37 and verse 38 that the difference between what's clean and unclean seed, if a dead insect is upon the seed or not. And so I guess it's about germination of adding the water to it maybe makes the seed germinate and come alive, or if the seed is just inactive, it's kind of dead to them, that it is still clean if it's dead. One other thing to note from Leviticus 11, and this is repeated a lot throughout the next coming chapters, is that the period of defilement for which you are ritually unclean is usually until evening. So there's a time in which you will be able to be clean again, and it's usually until the evening at the start of their day for that time. So moving on to Leviticus 12, we are focusing around childbirth and when women give birth. So a couple things to note that to me that are kind of, this is a strange chapter, so I'm going to get some assistance here from a nurse, but we'll talk more about that in a second. So just to summarize, males born are unclean for 7 days, and it takes 33 additional days to be purified. For females, it's double everything. They're unclean for 14 days, the mom is, after birth, and it takes 66 days to be purified on top of that. So, additionally, for each of the life that's born, you take a lamb that's less than a year for a burnt offering and a bird for a sin offering to make atonement on behalf of the mom giving birth, there in verse 7. So, I was able to reach out to a nurse, as I said, one who had been an RN for the NICU for over 30 years, and trying to get some more insight into this. So I will read what Marilyn has to say. So thank you, Marilyn, for your insights and allowing me to share them with our viewers here. So Marilyn says, I do not remember the discussion, except I noted that 7 plus 33 is 40, and that 14 plus 66 is 80. So 40 days seems symbolic several times in the Bible. Also, menstrual cycles are about 40 days. Of course, if breastfeeding, a mom will not be able to have periods and probably will not get pregnant. And most mothers have a heavy vaginal flow for a week after delivery. In the time when there were no antibiotics, it was a wise idea to separate moms and others who could possibly infect them. I can remember when hospitals only allowed moms and dads in mothers' rooms to be with newborns. Newborns were returned to the nursery if the mother had visitors. If the mother has vaginal tears during delivery, the tears need time to heal and remain clean to prevent infection. In my early years of nursing, mothers were told not to have sex 4 to 6 weeks after delivery. Some of the commentary that I read, Marilyn states, the state of the art at the time was that it was thought that the baby girls were smaller and weaker than boys, and therefore needed a longer recovery period after birth. So today we realize that premature baby girls have better outcomes than baby boys, so it sounds like it's different. Marilyn says, I also read that males were cherished more than girls, so baby girls stayed with mother longer to create a stronger bond. Marilyn thinks this, I think that since females are the sex that reproduce, a longer time with mother ensured their survival and therefore the possibility of production of more offspring. Males are not as important because one male can have many wives to produce many offspring. Marilyn finds it really cool, as she says, that it's not until the 8th day of life that the level of humans' clotting factor is high enough to prevent the baby from bleeding to death after being circumcised. And so she thinks that the 8th day is very significant, saying that today we give newborns vitamin K shortly after birth to increase their clotting factor, and that that is probably why the circumcision was done on the 8th day. So Marilyn, thank you so much for your thoughts. I very much appreciate it and you following in this Bible study, and I'd love to hear anybody else who has some wisdom they'd like to impart to me. You can connect with me via the GroupMe platform chat, email me, contact me. You can post something on Shepherd King's Facebook page, which is a little less direct for me, but I'm happy to have a discussion and to include some of your insights into this. So thanks you again, Marilyn, for your thoughts. Briefly going over Leviticus chapter 13, it goes into leprosy in much detail. And here is where I'd love some thoughts and feedback, especially from medical professionals. I can't take too much out of this except that they've cared very much about leprosy and were very detailed on the process. I did notice that often dealing with diagnosing leprosy came with looking at the color of the hair of the skin. And so white was kind of leprosy, yellow was not good, and black was a healthy sign for the hair. So if you have any more insights, any more things to share about cleanliness, uncleanliness, I'd love to learn more. And here ends our discussion for the Daily Bread Bible Study.